Hey, guys, we're back with another 0 hour, and now it is time to recap Aries 11. And I'm joined, of course, by Jeff Hobbs, Dylan McCarthy. Gentlemen, we're fresh off the heels of our second show in 2 weeks, and it was a fun one. We were in Camp Jordan Arena for Aries 11 this past Saturday, August the 20th. And Jeff, it was one of those shows where, coming on the heels of the show that Amped was, uh, it was a big shoes to fill. So the best we could hope for, I felt like, going in was a smoothly executed event that ran without a whole lot of stress and entertained the fans, and I think we got that.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody thought any different of that show, I mean, that by design was a little more laid back, a little less moving parts, because it was a quick turnaround and coming off the heels of just a really big show. The machine that was amped, took its toll on everybody. So kind of by design, we wanted just a little more laid back, purposely less polished or produced, if you will, and just have a good time, kind of like the old days. Just go in and put on some fun fights for the crowd, and like you said, kind of loosen up the collar a little bit.
Yeah, Dylan, you were back in the commentary seat for this one. Great job, you in Houston, as always. And we had some surprises. We had some upsets on this card. We had the emergence of some new potential faces of various divisions. So, even though a card that was overshadowed by its predecessor the week before, I think these fighters still came out and gave it a real nice accounting for themselves in Chattanooga.
100%. Tim, you talk about laid back, you talk about cool. Doesn't get any cooler than me and Houston Robertson hanging out with a 15 fight slate here to enjoy. Maybe the fans didn't think it was so cool there on the way out the door. I know the co-main and the main had some surprises. We're going to get to that, obviously, but I thought the action was great. Definitely some statements made by some fighters, both new to Aries and people that we've kind of seen a couple of times now. So definitely excited to recap this with you gentlemen.
Before we get going, folks, give us a solid here and subscribe to the channel here. That way you can get notifications every time we post new content. Looks like we'll have the fights from this past weekend going up here next week. So all the fights we're about to talk about, you can check out here on the channel. So you make sure that you subscribe, so you get notifications when we post those up. Give this video a like, comment, even let us know who your biggest winner of the night was from Aries 11. And then also do us a favor, follow us on our social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that jazz. We got it out of the way, folks. Let's move on. We started things off with some a juniors card, if you will. Our first three bouts featuring the youngins. And, we're coming up on the Gamma National Tournament that Justin Brown is putting on in early November in Nashville. And I would think that everybody we saw here, honestly, in this section would do well going out there and competing. We started off with a 50-pound grappling bout set for 5 minutes between highest stands Manny Salazar and Agogi's Jonas Bacon. Declared a draw after 5 minutes. Jeff, these guys, even though it was a draw, they both showed off a lot of skills. Salazar is a hell of a little wrestler, and Jonas Bacon constantly attacking submissions. This was a kind of a clash of styles, and they both went hard for 5 minutes. A nice start to the evening.
Yeah, you could tell when when they both got into the cage during introductions that these weren't just any old just kids out there trying to have fun. Salazar's over there, just getting ready and pump faking his shot, and then you had Bacon over there who was just classic, BJJ practitioner who was just as calm, cool, and collected watching his opponent. Salazar, just like you said, came in aggressive, using his wrestling, but just kind of stymied a little bit there by the constant submissions that Bacon was going after. So while Salazar was able to hold a lot of positions, he couldn't get too wild, trying to better his position, because I think he knew he was leaving himself susceptible, to submissions. Bacon had really close armbar a couple of times. So huge, showing for both these kids, man. I don't even like saying kids. I like saying gentlemen because I mean they competed like just as competitive as any longtime practitioner and grown man. This one truly, I'm glad was a draw. Honestly, I like saying a winner usually, but I'm glad it was a draw because both guys, for lack of a better terms, we're good at their shit, and so I'm glad no one really kind of walked away feeling down about their performance.
About two, we moved on to modified MMA rules for our next two youth bouts. So, in a nutshell, there's no head strikes. They can strike to the body, they can leg kick, they can go for submissions on the ground, with the exception of twisting leg locks like the amateur MMA is. We said Austin Fritz representing Hobbs Jackson Wink, getting a win over Aaron Selfers of Highest Stand. Round one, rear naked choke, 1 minute 41 seconds in. Dylan, take us back through this one. Fritz is a fairly polished looking young man out there. And if I'm not mistaken, now he's had, 4 or 5 wins out there doing this style rules. A guy that I really think should give it a go out there at this national tournament. And Selfers, drops another one here, but I think that he was definitely giving up some size. He was giving up some pounds there, and they kind of knew going in they were going to be a little outsized here. But excited to take on the challenge. You get the experience. That's what it's all about with these youth, is getting experience, and every bit of time that they can get in that cage prior to turning 18 will behoove them down the road.
100% correct, Fritz. Like you said, this is his 5th or 6th amateur contest, and he seemed very calm. I would say Aaron Selfers just seemed like maybe he was pressing a little bit. I think it was a pretty raucous crowd. The crowd was pretty lively throughout the entire card here, it made it fun. But when you're young, the way that Aaron Selfers is, I think maybe he was a little jacked up. He, in my opinion, and I've seen a lot of fights. I know you guys, obviously, being in this business, have seen a ton of fights. When you fake the glove touch and you sprint across, and then you come out trying to throw bombs, I don't think I've ever seen that work for anybody. So it's good that he's at the amateur level, and I think there's a lesson to be learned in that. Just don't let your energy get away from you. But he brings an entertaining style. So I'm not saying that I don't want to see more of that. I definitely do. It's just Austin Fritz, in the end, stayed calm, got to a position where he could get the W, as he did in this case. And Selfers, there is a way to harness all that energy into an effective strategy, and I think it maybe just got a little too excitable for him. But, so super stoked to see these guys throw down. And, the future's bright, right? They got the Gamma event on the horizon, and I hope we keep seeing more of them, and can't wait to see them in the amateur ranks here once they get a little older and get out of the juniors.
Rounding out the youth portion of our card, it was Sawyer Gilbertson with a or was it Sawyer Gilbert? Did I get that wrong? Is it Sawyer Gilbertson or Gilbert, guys? Real quick,
Gilbert.
It's just Gilbert. Sorry,
Yep,
Sawyer Gilbert.
Sawyer Gilbert.
Yeah, he gets the win over Audi Baker by unanimous decision. Jeff, this one was a close one, really. It was really kind of one of those, like, what do you value most? But all 3 judges saw it for Sawyer Gilbert, 30-27, 29-28, 29-28. And both of these young men also bright futures. We got to see Audi Baker for the second time now go all 3 rounds. First time he came out on the winning side against Selfers. This time on the losing side, Gilbert able to show, nice top control. But in the striking exchanges, I thought Baker was hitting some nice body kicks. And both of these gentlemen, I know they are true martial artists, if you will. They take this very seriously, and excited to see them progress as well as they get older. And by the time they turn 18, again, 2 kids that will be salty. I think you're muted, Jeff.
Yep, sorry, I was coughing earlier. Yeah, man. This is one of those where don't let the UD mistake that this was a closer fight than just saying unanimous decision. Each round, I think, was separated by just very little amount of action or contact that defined who won it, but they were close, for sure. The thing is, too, both these guys, are so easy to work with. Audie Baker has got to be one of the sweetest kids in the world, man. It doesn't matter how a fight turns out or what happens in it. He immediately is asking, when can I have another opportunity? He truly loves competing, possibly getting better each and every time, and just or possibly getting the opportunity to get better each and every time. So sky's the limit for both these kids. I would honestly like to see, just probably speaking, out loud when I shouldn't. Tim is maybe building up to this November thing with Gamma, as we start looking at some of these kids and talking about maybe with some decisions that are coming up. Sponsoring some of them for their entry fee, as a reward for some of these fights that are, just really good and good performances, is really pushing them to join this Gamma thing, and maybe start sponsoring some entry fees at least for some winners from now until then.
I can dig it, man. I can dig it. I think that being right in our neck of the woods, I'm sure we'll be making it a point to get out there and checking out some of that action. And it'd be good to see some of the guys that we've seen, and girls that we've seen compete in our cage, have an opportunity to see how they do against, the top level of competition. Talking to Justin Brown, they're expecting upwards of 200 kids from around the country to be at this thing. So
Nice.
excited about that. And I'm sure we'll get Justin on here in the coming weeks. We'll talk some more about it and give a little bit more shine to that. Let's see. Before we get into our next segment of the card, a quick little push for one of our favorite sponsors, Smoky Mountain CBD. They've come on board just about 3 or 4 months ago, and they have been awesome to work with, guys. Always hooking our VIP tables up with a swag bag that is, it's awesome, and they love it. We love it. Jeff, I know you and Dylan both have partaken some of the gummies. The legal gummy. These are legal. That's we don't gotta hide this shit, man. This is legal, street legal here in Tennessee. No more than the maximum amount of the minimum that they allow, I suppose. Of THC in their products, as well as some products with no THC, just straight CBD. I know a lot of the fighters love it, and we appreciate them. You guys can check them out at SmokyMountainCBD.com. And, they're at all of our shows, Raising Hell. They love it. So come check them out. Get a VIP table, and you can sample, all the stuff. And it's great. It really is a favorite of ours. Shout out to Smoky Mountain CBD.
And I dare anybody to go to their site and look up each individual item that is in your free gift bag and look at how much they're giving you value-wise in that goodie bag, guys. It's unbelievable to think of how they take care of our VIP section at the retail cost of that, that material.
Always fun to you look around at the shows, and some of these tables are just like, ooh, they're just like.
I'm not going to mention any table names, but there was one behind me. I kept having to turn around and go like, "You got to stop eating those, man!" They weren't waiting for them to kick in, and they were just having a good old time. And I was like, "Bro, you should really probably slow down."
Moving on to our undercard portion, we got to get our tag team action in there, and this one was certainly a lot of fun. One of the more fun ones. Heavyweight tag team action as Agogis, Torres, the Punisher Finney, and Tyler Toon knock off Travis Gregoire and Lee Polk 2-0 after 10 minutes. This was a wild one, Dylan. I've got to say the thing that stood out the most that everyone's going to remember is and as they were walking to the cage, I talked to Matt Harris, the coach, and I was like, "Did y'all decide what we're going to do? We go to a draw? Are we doing overtime or what?" He's like, "Man, we didn't even think about that." He's like, "We're just working on some double team moves." I'm like, "Okay, we'll see." Dylan, take us back through it. They showed off some double team moves.
This was okay. I got to tell you, this was probably the most fun I've had calling one of our tag team bouts. Right from the walkout, the team of Gregoire and Polk coming out to the NWO Wolfpack theme, and they just seemed. They were the coolest guys, and I think that maybe that was a little bravado because once you saw their opponents, this team of Polk and Finney, right, and they come out, and it's just like two linebackers. These guys are monsters. Obviously, the action started off pretty fast and furious. We saw the most effective utilization of 2-on-1 in Aries tag history. It was a tag followed by the team of Finney and Toon landing a double spine buster, double choke slam, whatever you want to call it. It was a great 2-on-1, and it set the bar for the tag team 2-on-1 precedent. Nobody used the tags effectively as Toon and Finney. And honestly, you know what? I know the team of Poke and Gregoire. I believe one of those gentlemen
had some pretty opportune tags themselves.
They did, yeah. They utilized the double teams great, and I think one of them stepped in on short notice. I was told, right?
Yeah, Poke was in on just maybe 2 weeks' notice.
Yeah, hey, he was cool. I really liked their energy. I thought they were a good team, and I think they'd give some other teams we've seen problems. I do love the concept of these heavyweights in tag teams because you can see the slams, and the gas tank with the heavyweights. They're good for a little bit of time there, and then they're looking to make that tag, so it kind of spurs the action on. I know Houston and I got a little turned around on the tag count. We actually were a little confused, if I'm being honest with you. We lost track that the tags reset after the submission.
A sub, right? Yeah, you get 3 every sub. Yeah.
We thought Poke and Gregoire were just running up to like blind tags behind the ref's back, so I was laughing. Up to the spine buster, we were laughing. And then at the end there, I do just want to say how cool it was that Silas got to come in and cut his little promo with Finney. That was a really cool moment, and definitely, I think the crowd loved it. Me and Houston loved it, and you guys are awesome. It was a great part of the night. So really cool match. And hey, Agogi's tag team back on the winning track there after coming up a little short in Nashville. So that was awesome.
Do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I know this one isn't mine, but I mean, these guys used it for what it's worth. And what I enjoy, sometimes the crowd can get kind of quiet during the tag team match because they're trying to figure it out, but the banter between the two teams is what helps make it, because it is quiet and the crowd can hear. And these guys just had fun with it. I mean, Torres is in the corner. Let me get mine. Let me get one. Come on, tag me again. Let me get one more. Let me try, and Toon is like, no, it's my turn, bro. So, I mean, the banter back and forth from team to team, talking amongst, we've seen them before in the past where the competitors just sit there and, not really get into it. But these guys, they made it fun. They made it fun for real. It's going to be about damn time that we just go ahead and get us some tag belts.
Yeah, I think a one-night tournament's in order. We'll figure out something snazzy to call it. Obviously, not the Crockett Cup, the Cricket Cup. Who knows? But I think that it's long overdue, and I think that a lot of teams would have some fun with it, especially now that people are starting to kind of realize the various angles you can play and make use of that strategy. And up next, our final grappling bout of the evening, Jeff. We had the much anticipated debut of Miss Karma RX as she took on longtime vet Hannah Ellswick in our final grappling bout, declared a draw after 10 minutes. And, the first kind of maybe first quarter, first third of this, it was interesting because, Karma almost had like a nonchalant kind of, get off of me kind of deal, setting a pace where Hannah was kind of, the pushing the action forward, pressing, trying to get her hands on her. And I was trying to figure out, what's going on here? What's the plan here? And, in hindsight, you figure, maybe Karma has enough foresight to be like, man, I don't want to have an adrenaline dump out here and then be gassed 3 minutes into this thing and be in a real bad spot. So like hindsight being, after you kind of look back on it, you think maybe that was actually super smart on her end to kind of conserve herself, and be able to know that she's kind of going to be able to last a very long 10 minutes. 10 minutes is a long time consecutively to go out there and compete, especially for the first time in front of a crowd. Yeah,
you got to imagine there were nerves. There was kind of that nervous smiling going on in the beginning. And, this was our first time ever in any combat situation ever. She's just been training at Agogi here recently and getting into the real team aspect of everything and being a part of a team and enjoying it. But, grappling in practice at your gym with your friends is a little more laid back. And I'm sure there are a lot of, cutting up and smiling and laughing. So kind of maybe I felt like it was just that awkwardness of everybody's watching. I don't want to look silly doing this, and kind of that playful smile. But it you saw that moment in the match where it switched, like when Hannah would really kind of come at her
we kind of hit the cage a little bit.
And then, and your back goes against the cage and trying to, dip down for a single or a takedown where it's like, okay, shit, she's really trying. She's going to, like, if I don't, and so you saw that switch turn with Karma. It is what it is, man. I think, we didn't expect too much out of it just because we knew that Karma was, just new to this. She's just, getting her feet wet in any type of combat situation. But I was just really proud of her for getting in there, out of her comfort zone, stepping in with a professional MMA fighter. Regardless of what Hannah's record is, she's a professional, which means she's already gone through the amateur ranks and had wars and battles.
Well, she's been at it nearly a decade.
Yeah, she's had wars as a professional. She's been in some intense grappling and ground and pound situations, and Karma stepped right on in there with her. And so it was a huge accomplishment just to, just to get in the cage. So, I think both girls at the end of 10 minutes were probably glad that they didn't go ahead and agree to do the EBI, the overtime rules. I'm sure they were okay with coming out with the draw, because like you said, 10 minutes is a long damn time to keep somebody from taking you down and whooping your ass. So I think we'll see her again. I hope so. I'd love to see the growth there. And kudos to Hannah for not feeling like this was beneath her to come in and do a grappling match, with somebody that, stepping right in, for lack of better terms, off the street, and being a good sport about it and participating. So I'm glad it happened. I'm glad we had it on the card.
Yeah, 100%. I think, Karma showed like really good base strength in that, there were several times where she was able to fend off those takedowns in the early going. And I was like, man, she's pretty good base. She's not going to just be easily taken down. And, I thought that, I was talking to her after. I was like, once you're able to, get the nerves out, you'll open up a little bit more out there. Those submissions will start to present themselves. Hopefully we get to see her back in the Aries cage. We know we'll see Hannah Elswick again at some point in the Aries cage. So a pleasure working with both ladies. They were both very, very easy to deal with and work with, which we love. Let's see. Moving on now. We start throwing some hands and feet and all that stuff, guys. We had David West taking on Brian Trong to open up our tie portion of the card. Jeff, I'll go back to you here. 30-27 unanimous win for David West across the board. But a nice showing for Trong, I thought, for his debut. He was definitely in that fight. West is like a kind of like really long and rangy to be a 135, more so than several that you're going to run across. And just a pleasure to work with both of these guys. Once again, those black eye Muay Thai guys they're just no problems. They just show up on weight and they're easy to deal with and they're prepared. And I would like to see now, we've seen David West take on, now he's 2-1. There's several guys in that Middle Tennessee area around his weight at 135 that do a tie. I'd like to see him maybe see how he does against some of the Middle Tennessee kickboxers.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with David West. He's just one of those kind of quiet guys, unassuming. Social media, he's always the first one to like our stuff and share and things like that, but never really comment. So he's just really a quiet guy. But his skill level is it's off the charts. When he gets in the cage, it's it's another switch gets turned in David West, and very, very technical. So some really good coaching going on at Black Eye. And I'm like you. I think there's a lot of interesting matchups, really skilled opponents that could we could put in there with them and really put on some really high level Muay Thai fights with if they're including David West, they're going to be. I think there's some guys out there, like you said, Middle Tennessee, between Chambori, between Nashville MMA and Dorian Price, DJ Miller, and kind of those Middle Tennessee guys. There's 3 gyms right there and 3 good coaches that could probably let us borrow some guys to put on some nice fights.
Up next, our second of 3 Muay Thai bouts. It was Agogi's Aiden Howell getting a unanimous decision victory over Javante Miles Trowell, JMT back in the house. Unanimous decision, 30-27 across the board. I think that I had it 29-28 Howell. The 30-27 doesn't tell the tale of like how close this fight was, in my opinion. Honestly, Dylan, this fight kind of had it. We had this started as a potential fight of the night until we got up to what eventually did in the fight of the night. I liked this fight that much. It was a nice mix of like technique and just like rock'em sock'em
Yeah.
for 3 rounds. Your take on this one?
JMT tried to bring the dog out and just make it like an ego-based haymaker kind of brawl, which is awesome, for the fans. And Aiden Howell's young enough where for a minute I thought he was going to get baited into it. That first round, I could hear them talking to each other and they're being at the announcer's table. And JMT was actually it was calculated trash talk, because I think that he thought, if I can just get my power on my opponent, I'm going to get the result I want. But I can't do it without him engaging me, right? Because Aiden Howell seemed a little more technical, was utilizing good footwork, was kind of picking his shots. And if JMT didn't try and drag that dog out of him and get that kind of fight, it probably would have just been Howell cruising to kind of a victory by points. But I'll tell you what, JMT caught him with some very, very heavy punches and gave Aiden Howell a chance to show his good chin. And I think after he ate, I would say 2 or 3 of those from JMT, he realized, I need to fight a smarter game plan. And that's kind of what he did. He sort of slowed things down and implemented the best course to victory for him. In the end, I thought Aiden Howell showed some good maturity to not get drawn into just an emotional-based brawl. And I thought JMT showed, 1, that he's experienced, 2, that he's powerful, and 3, that he's got some skills to offer as well. I think the judges got it right on the scorecards, but I thought JMT was very entertaining, and I would like to see more of him. I know he's got a lot of MMA fights already, and kind of a mixed bag of results there, but I'll tell you what, you put the small gloves on him, and with his power, if he's landing those punches, especially in an MMA fight, he can turn somebody's lights out. So props to both of these fighters. I thought it was a great second Muay Thai bout of the night, and I thought maybe it wasn't going to go the distance early with how heavy the shots were, but those guys have each got great chins on them, so kudos to them.
Rounding out the Muay Thai portion of the card, the ladies back in the cage, it was Hannah Ross of the MMA Institute up in Harrisonburg, Virginia, getting the TKO win 28 seconds in due to a shoulder injury to Miss Asia Pack, who is making her debut out of Striker Fight Center down in Kennesaw. Jeff didn't get what we were, this is a fight that I kind of expected to go all the rounds, but certainly didn't expect 28 seconds into it to have a stoppage. And unfortunate the way that it was stopped. I know neither lady wanted it to end like that, a shoulder injury to Miss Asia Pac. Up to that point, man, the few seconds we saw were looking like they were going to be good.
Yeah. And, it was scary for Asia. It's the first time she said she's ever had, a shoulder, come out of socket like that. So her reaction was very warranted, because if you've never had that happen, just like being stuck. Oh, yes, just your arm being stuck like that, not being able to rotate it, move it forward, backward, do anything. The immediate, the shock set in. But they did get it to. Doctor came in and they were able to work it and get it to pop back in. And unfortunately, at that point, you're like, okay, it's back in. I'm ready to go. But now we can't let you do that, because I know she hated not getting to compete and finish like that. But it just kind of sucks. I'm sure Miss Ross was excited. I've seen some Facebook posts and stuff like that. She's definitely excited to walk away with a victory. I know it's not the way that she wanted it, and it probably was a little unsatisfying, coming all that way and making all that trip for 28 seconds and an injury to stop the fight. So I'm sure she's going to be chomping at the bit to actually get back in and compete. And honestly, I think these fighters love taking licks just as much as they love giving them sometimes. Sometimes it's therapeutic to get hit too. And I'm sure she wants to feel like she was in a fight and get hit. So I wouldn't be surprised if we hear from Miss Ross again and, pretty quickly. And hopefully Asia will be the same, kind of work that, rehab it a little bit, make sure it's ready to go. And I'm sure we'll hear from her again as well.
Yeah, both ladies a pleasure to work with. Love to have them back on the scene. We always welcoming more and more ranks to our female division. So love to work with both of them again. Talked to Frank with Stryker afterward. He said that Asia was ready to go right back in there. As long as she's going to see a doctor this week, make sure nothing crazy's happened, but she's going to be ready to turn it right back around quickly. Before we get into our MMA portion of the card, quick push for what we got coming up next. Jeff, we're going to the fair. Nashville Fair, September the 17th. Aries Fight Series in the house for a fair fight. And this is actually going to be the entertainment for the evening at the Nashville Fair, guys. We're excited to do it. Watch for the fight card to be coming out here over the next week. We've already got probably about 40% of it done, but we'll drop that on you guys soon. Cheap tickets, man, $25. It includes your fair admission. You can ride the Ferris wheel. You could go get some funnel cakes, maybe pet a llama. Lots to do, I'm sure, at the Nashville Fair. You can get your tickets at nashfair.fun. And I would suggest you get those quickly because we have a limited amount of tables available. It's going to be a good time. Jeff, any thoughts on our quicker than usual return to Nashville?
No, really. And it's going to be cool, man. It's going to be fun. Aries Fight Series is putting the show on, but guys, this is a fair deal. This is something they wanted. They wanted us to be part of their nightly entertainment. So we're excited to do it. It's going to be right back in the same spot, same venue that Aries Amped was.
With big bleachers now.
They got bleachers now.
Big bleachers, yeah.
Yeah, right after we left, they got bleachers and big black curtains. So they're going to cut the venue in half, make it a little more, confined and cozy, if you will. But like I said, man, the ticket price includes also your fair ticket, which ultimately the tickets to the fair are $10, guys. Mm-hmm. So you're getting a fight ticket for $15 and a fair ticket for $10. So you can't beat that, y'all. And I will partake. I will have funnel cake at cage side. I'll have fucking white powder all over my shit and damn barbarian turkey leg probably at some point. I hope they're got a server coming in with some shit. But like Tim said, I just checked just now, and tables are moving already. So y'all better hurry the hell up because we only got we got three fight, none's announced, but 3 fights booked, and tables are already going. So
there's some fun ones. You're gonna like it. We've got a little sneak peek. We got a Nashville black belt on the card. We've got a female fight booked already. We've got the MMA debut of the most experienced tag team grappler in Aries history. Draw from Josh Maynard. So a little sneak peek. Right. You can't beat it.
And there's going to be some, I know one, like you said, a female, it's already got a little heat on it. I think it's been a long time. So these aren't just fun fights. I mean, some of these are actually going to be, hey, there's a little heat on some of these. So it could get rowdy up in here.
All right, moving on to the MMA portion of Aries 11. Mario Umana kicked us off with a first round submission over Alex Dees. By arm triangle. Umana, of course, rounding out the evening for Stryker Fight Center. Alex Dees coming in representing Pride Wrestling out of Cleveland, Tennessee. Jeff, we saw Dees make his debut just a month or so ago. He in a losing effort to Xavier Lundy, and did look better here. Was able to show some nice takedowns and nice top control, but wasn't able to do enough damage on Umana before Umana was able to kind of slip out, take his back, and work position to get that submission and a performance of the night award. I got to say, this was kind of my standout moment of the night as far as what I'll remember most from this night. A true, you got to give me the goosebumps kind of deal at cage side. You're gonna have to fucking come with it. And I tell you what, the Umana fans came with it on this debut win for Mario.
Dude, before that though, was it not the fucking
music
song?
Oh yeah, it comes out to the Bloodsport.
Kumite song
Mm-hmm.
had me jacked.
Yeah.
He was already one up on performance of the night because of his walkout.
Yeah.
And he felt every bit of it, and the crowd did too. His people had to have known. I think maybe he said they were a part of that, choosing that walkout song.
Maybe.
Because they were feeling it. I was feeling it. I was fucking wanting to hit bricks and shit.
Yeah.
It was awesome, man. But the kid looked good, man. And this is absolutely my favorite part of the night. Silas doing the intros with me was special, and I love that. But this one, man, this was my favorite part of the night. And I had received a phone call earlier in the day from a lady in Georgia, and was asking about tickets to the fight because she had just let the online slip, and she was scared to death that maybe they weren't going to be available. And then she proceeded to tell me the story. And Miss Georgiana was her name, and Mario Umana was her son's partner. They were police officers, and she had lost her son. And Mario Umana just, was doing this for him and for her family. And so a lot of those people in the crowd were police officers in Smyrna, Georgia. They'd come up and made the trip. And, I think Mitchell was his name. Mitchell's mom and dad, the family had really just latched on to how much Mario, meant to her son, and her son meant to Mario. And so they had to be there to support him. And so just the whole, everything wrapped up in that performance. And then you get that walkout song, and he comes out. Now I know what he's fighting for, and what the fight means to him. And just kind of I was winging it there at the minute. I was getting ready to announce who it was sponsored by, and I'm like, screw the sponsor. This isn't sponsored by anybody. This fight is dedicated to the memory. And I look over, and he's getting I'm choked up. He's getting choked up. We're all choked up. But when that bell rings, man, he was a little animal, man. And so it was just an awesome moment all around. We're going to work with that family again in October. One of the last acts that her son Mitchell had done before he passed was he had come by her house and he'd reached out to her and asked her for blankets. Do we have any old blankets? I need a lot of blankets. And when she asked him what it was for, he wanted to put them in the squad car because it was cold out. And he wanted to, when he saw a homeless person, be able to give them a blanket. And so that has stuck with his parents. And so they do these blankets now in his honor. And for everyone that's bought, then they donate one to a police officer's car. So same thing, they can help give blankets out in the winter to homeless people. So we're going to allow that family in October to bring a booth and sell some damn blankets. I'm going to buy one for sure. And hopefully we're going to push a shit ton of blankets for their cause in Smyrna, Georgia.
Hey, I love it. I love it. Dylan, any take on this one before we move on to the next one? For me, I was on the headset on production, which is my new favorite thing to do. And I've heard this, it was almost like a pulsating from behind me from the Umana fans. And I was like, man, what is going on? I feel like it's like there's something going on with my shit here. But no, it was just this pulsating wave of energy coming from the bleachers over there. A special moment.
Yeah, they had about I want to say 10 rows all the way up to the top of the bleachers. People were waving their hands. People had signs. They were getting loud. And honestly, I love that. I love when a fighter comes out. Obviously, it's going to be segmented because different people in the crowd are there to support different fighters or maybe just one fighter. But
there's no mistaking where the crowd section was.
You can tell it was something special, though. Like the kind of support they were giving definitely fueled on his performance. And he was giving up a little bit of size. And tip your cap to Alex Dees. Alex Dees got some good wrestling. He did try to implement that game plan. And he got caught in kind of it was a pretty high skill head and arm choke that he secured initially from the bottom and then used it to get dominant position. Which is not a transition that is super common. So Mario Umana is a dangerous guy in there, hitting these submissions that are not commonly seen. And once the whole story came to light, we were kind of getting filled in. Once we heard that there was no sponsor, and you kind of got a sense as to what the story behind the fight was, it was awesome, and that is a special moment. And moments like that. you gotta come to these Aries live events because it's not just fun. Like sometimes it is really like memorable. I mean, obviously you'll remember if you have fun, but this was a memorable thing. You know, I was honored to be a part of it, and I think it's awesome that we're working with that family. And yeah, definitely get some blankets and support them because that's an awesome cause, and you love to see kind of a happy ending there for that family supporting Mario and getting a chance to work with Aries. So I'm really thrilled to hear that.
And to top it off, an hour later after his fight, when we announced his name, we didn't know if he was there or not. We announced his name for performance of the night, and the pop was just as big an hour later when we announced his name for performance of the night because they were all still there with him, you know, hanging out and taking pictures. It was great to get the second pop, which meant they didn't just come to see him and leave; they were still there.
All right. Up next, we had our maybe our first cruiserweight bout in our short history. I'm sure we'll be seeing more. It was Sherman Washington getting the win in his debut over Preston Harcourt. Also in his debut, two debuting gentlemen here, both easy to work with. Sherman Washington representing Powell's MMA. We just saw them, in town in Nashville with Jonathan Rivers. So good to see them come back and get on the winning side of things. Round one submission, rear naked choke, 55 seconds in. Dylan, your take here. Not a whole lot to go with here. It was a fairly quick takedown and a nice transition to the back. Rear naked choke for Sherman Washington. Honorable mention to Preston for the friendliest introduction I've ever seen. That took me by surprise. I chuckled.
You got these cruiserweights coming in, a little bigger competitors. You think it's going to be hands? I got to talk with Sherman at the face-offs a little bit, and he's actually from Maryland initially. So me and him were just kind of talking, so some East Coast stuff, and it was pretty cool. He's got a great attitude. He's a really fun guy to kind of cut up with a little bit. And he definitely showed his skill level. Quick takedown, quick submission. Preston came out in like the Bahama Joe Hawaiian shirt. And then, it was just kind of like a fun personality. And he kind of ran into a buzzsaw a little bit. Shout out to his corner. Preston's corner was keeping it fun at ringside. Cruiserweight's interesting, man. It's not every day you get to see the cruiserweights on a card, so I feel like you're going to get a finish out of more often than not, and this one was just a pretty clinical takedown, get the bag, choke kind of thing. So shout out to Sherman, and if we get some more cruiserweights, he's going to be a problem for whoever has to get in there with him, so definitely excited to have him on the card this time.
Up next, we had a lightweight bout. I'll stay with you here, Dylan, since these next two are fairly quick. Isaiah Parker of Agogi moves to 2-0 with a first-round submission by armbar just almost 2 minutes into that first round over the debuting Austin Rich. Rich, a decorated North Carolina wrestler, coming from the same camp at DC Combat with Dustin Garrett and the gang. And, this fight going to the ground, though, was where Isaiah wanted it as well, showed off, his excellent jiu-jitsu as we have come to expect from him, getting another there's the other Performance of the Night award, by the way, for the armbar win. He moves to 2-0.
Hey, listen, Isaiah Parker for your Aries Fight Series amateur debut. That's a tough draw, right? I mean, Isaiah feels like, even though he's only fought for us twice, maybe it's just Houston and talking to some of the other Agogi guys, man. He's got a real air about him. Like, he is going to be a star on the rise. So Austin Rich came in, and he was a game opponent. But, man, Isaiah has got just a great competence on the ground. And we haven't seen him in a fight so much as it's just a competition to get to the spots, right? Like, he's always a couple steps ahead of his opponents in the grappling realm. I'm not saying he doesn't have the striking, but we haven't, and that's going to be something that's fun to see his development as an amateur. If he does run into an opponent that kind of pushes him to different areas we haven't seen. But as far as how good his grappling is, this was a display of that. He is masterful. He grapevines the legs. He gets trying to guard one thing, and then he attacks another, staying a step ahead. So Austin Rich, that's a tough draw. definitely think you'll have a chance to show some more skills your next time out. And as far as Isaiah goes, man, that's a guy to watch, especially here at the amateurs. But he's so young. A lot of potential there. A lot of potential there for Isaiah Parker. So definitely interested to see who he gets matched up with next, because he's definitely making some waves.
Up next, we had Breven Sullivan moving up in weight class now to 145 after being 135 for his first 3 bouts. He improves to 4-0 with a round 1 TKO at 2 minutes and 20 seconds over the debuting Julian Mendoza. Jeff, I'll go to you on this one. Mendoza with a kind of like one of those experiences, almost like Alex D's we talked about, car trouble early in the day. And a lot of the times when I hear that, I'm like, man, this guy, he ain't coming. This is a red flag. It's not going to happen. To his credit, he got his car fixed and on the road by about 4:30. Showed up to weigh in about 12:45, 1 o'clock in the morning after an 8+ hour drive from Greenville, North Carolina. Made his weight and showed up to fight, honored his commitment. Can't fault anybody there for sure. Breven, of course, looked great. Very, very, what's the word I'm going to say? Technical and, I guess calculated, I guess is going to be the word I'm going to use for this, because in the past, we've kind of seen Breven, swarm guys, immediately just try to put them on him, get him out of there. He seemed to be picking his shots a little more, slowly, if you will, in this one. And just kind of picked apart Mendoza before he finally was able to drop him just over 2 minutes in.
Yeah, it's patient for me is the word.
Mm-hmm. Patient, I like it.
Yeah, just more patient, not rushing anything, picking his shots better, just a little more precise, letting Mendoza, finish his head movement before he, threw a shot instead of just wildly,
Mm-hmm.
I can't fault Breven for the record of the opponent across from him. I mean, he accepts, what's out there and what we can find for him. He's not necessarily the easiest person to find an opponent for, and because he's got a lot going for him that probably scares a lot of people away. When it's time to match him. I am definitely of the group that is ready to see him really step up the competition. And I think he has to at this point. When you're 4-0, all of them are finishes, right, Tim? I mean, nothing has gone the distance. They're all finishes.
He hasn't had any. I don't think he's had any decisions. No,
I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think so either. So, and it's not me whatsoever picking on Breven. It's just I'm ready. I'm ready to see him in the war. I'm ready to see him in that dog fight and really jump up there and take on some really good seasoned competition. And, from speaking to him afterwards, he's ready too. He wants that as well. He's not shying from it. In fact, he went ahead his first time in the weight class and he shots fired to Knoxville, Tennessee for Joseph Hishma. And
called out Hishma. That's right. And who doesn't love that?
Yeah. And how do you not love that? And that is the step up that I'm talking about. Hishma, where's Hishma at right now? 3-0, 4-0 as well.
3-0. I think the exact same. I think he's 3-0.
Yeah. So so in that aspect, I'm happy that Breven wants what I want, and that is it's time for us to put on some fucking banger fights, for Breven, and see. He's got a lot of dogs at his gym. I'm ready to see if he's a dog right there with them. That is, man, where do you put that damn fight on? Because either location.
That's a great fight. fight.
Either location is going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
I really honestly feel though, sorry Breven, but I think that fight gets rowdier at the Joe though.
That's a Joe banger. That's a Cotton Eye Joe banger. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think that fight gets as rowdy as we want it to be at Cotton Eye Joe. It's intense. It's everybody is up on the damn cage almost. It's right there in your face. And I think a fight like that won't do it justice if it's not at the Joe with the moonshine shack next door and everybody taking shots of shine. So Tim, that's your.
I'll get to work on that.
That's your
I get to work on
assignment.
that.
That's your assignment. Yeah.
Y'all are out there listening. Let's do this in October at the Joe. All right. Moving on to the feature bout of the evening. I will say that performance by Breven was certainly talked about as a performance of the night contender. So I want to, even though it wasn't awarded, I want to give it some honorable mention there. Up next in the feature bout, we had another female bout. We had 4 female bouts on this night. Samantha Buttery returns off of her main event fight at the Joe last time out. She lost the decision to Mary Rosenbeck for our title at 145. She wanted to make a quick turnaround, and she does with a round 3 TKO win, just 2 minutes 36 seconds in, so only 24 seconds left in this fight. But she's able to put away Erin Worrell, ground and pound TKO. I'll go to both of you guys here. I thought that. I actually liked this fight quite a bit because while it wasn't the most technical affair overall, it was one of those fights where, it seemed like Samantha was kind of having her way as far as like winning most of the exchanges, landing more blows. But then like Erin Worrell would like out of nowhere come with like a big power shot that would certainly affect Samantha. And so you knew she was always going to be dangerous throughout this whole time. Dylan, I'll go to you first. Your take on both these ladies. I think, Samantha back on the winning track, kind of gets the losing taste out of her mouth from what I've heard from her today. She's looking to turn around again quick and get back in there. And I hope we see Erin Worrell again as well. I think she can be very competitive in this division.
Yeah, Erin Worrell coming in first time in the Aries cage, fighting Sam. First of all, tip your cap to that because Sam is the elite level. That fight with Mary was a split decision. I think the right decision was made, but if Sam could have maybe got that title fight to the ground another round or two, she could have just as easily walked away with that strap. And that's what kind of made this fight interesting. Was Sam had an opportunity, I think, early in the first round to kind of follow her opponent to the ground, and it was just kind of a quick scramble, and it was a little awkward, and both fighters got to their feet. Erin Worrell was getting out technicaled a little bit. The footwork was definitely in favor of Buttery. The rangy strikes were going to Buttery. And I honestly think that Worrell's side-to-side movement was awesome for a fighter in her first fight, but just maybe not as much vertical head movement, right? So she was able to slip stuff left and right, but then Sam was kind of able to recalibrate and find her. But yeah, Worrell showed really good power in the hands. In the third round, she came out with a sense of desperation, and they were kind of far away from the commentary table, and our monitor didn't quite have it. But I swear that it was like a short lean back uppercut, followed by like a kind of an awkward landing left cross. And I think it might have clunked Sam and kind of initiated a wrestling sequence, sort of out of like, whoa, she still has power here in the third. Like, let me close the distance. So the takeaway is Sam is one of the best competitors that we have. And Erin is somebody to watch out for, because if this was her first fight, the progression that could potentially be there, it's really exciting. You love to see us getting a little more depth here with the women's roster. And tip your cap to Erin Worrell, but Sam Buttery, I don't think she is going anywhere. I think she's going to be right at the top of any discussion for women's MMA in Aries Fight Series. So awesome to see.
Speaking of awkward, Jeff, almost a wardrobe malfunction in this one. Your take.
That's right. I'm only saying it because Samantha said it.
She
almost all the boobies.
Yep,
yeah. Almost all the boobies. And it was just that inexperience of Worrell. Just reaching out, trying to stop blows from happening, and just kind
of. And Dylan made a nice comment or observation on commentary with her being an officer. Maybe there's some sort of training, or that's just like maybe that is something that You know what I mean? That they're
Yep.
instinctually,
The turn and
make
grab.
right, the turn and
Grab
grab.
a
The
collar
turn.
and throw a nightstick. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
The turning, the blindly turn and grab. No, I don't mean that. I'm joking on that because Officer Worrell fucking brought it.
Yeah.
I don't think this is exactly the fight Samantha wanted coming off that 5-round war. And not that she was looking for anything in particular in an opponent. In this weight class, in this division, and females, you just take what you can get because there's not a lot of depth out there. There's not a lot of opponents to pick and choose from. But I definitely say she was, in my opinion, she would have gladly had someone not be as tough as Aaron Worrell was, because this chick she's an officer for a reason, and I feel sorry for any perp out there that has Officer Worrell called to come on the scene. Um, you said it best though, Tim. It was volume and preciseness of Buttery, and then it was just the one solid comeback from Morrell all the time that kind of was keeping her in this fight. Huge props to Worrell. Like I said, you're looking at Samantha Buttery, a 3-1 record, just off a 5-round war title fight, and you're coming in as a debut. She had a great crowd too, cage side table right by the entrance, the door, and they cheered for her tremendously as she walked to the cage during the fight, and even after the outcome had happened, cheered just as hard for her walking down the steps and back to the back again. She did not let anyone down in this fight, but man, it turned into a scrap. It turned into a dog fight that I don't know that necessarily we expected, but we are so glad we got. And that opens up. I mean, if Aaron Morrell wants to keep with this, it opens up some potentials for future bouts for her.
Mhm.
And I don't mean it like we're just looking at losers and stuff, but okay, you lost your debut against Samantha Buttery. Well, what about some of those people Buttery has competed against all along the way
Yeah.
that we could put together and kind of round robin some of those to see who builds their way back up to being in contention again. So but like you said, Buttery is definitely immediately after this fight's over. No. I want back in. When can we do it again? She is on a mission. I think she really wants to go professional sooner rather than later, but she's smart enough to know she has some holes that she wants to, fill. And coming off that loss, one loss maybe is going to equal, I need about 3 more wins, and I need to see that I fix those things. And she doesn't want to wait a year to get those wins. She wants them right now. And so it sounds like Matchmaker is on the move right now, trying to see what's out there possibly. And she doesn't care where she goes. She doesn't care if it's Knoxville, Nashville, Chattanooga, wherever. She doesn't care. She doesn't have to be close to home.
Preferably fighting in her own bar. She's still pushing for that.
Yes, she does. Unfortunately for us, her bar is located in the state of Kentucky, which I've paid too much child support in the state of Kentucky. I don't like anything. I don't like anything about Kentucky. But we'll see, man. We'll see. It was a good fight. This was a deserving feature bout.
Co-main event, we had Jazzy Sargent, the ever popular Jazzy Sargent. A lot of people there in attendance to support her, and she took on Letitia Candra in a 110-pound bout. It was a catchweight affair. Letitia Candra coming all the way down from Pittsburgh, representing Moore's MMA, 2-1 coming into this one against Jazzy, was 1-0. A very hard fought battle by both ladies. It was Letitia Candra who got the split decision win. Scorecards all over the place here. We had a 30-27 for Candra. We had a 29-28 for Candra. We had a 28-29 for Jazzy. So cards all over the place here. I thought personally that I personally had it 29-28 for Candra. But I wouldn't have had a problem with it the other way. 30-27 I thought was a bit wide, my opinion only. This was a fight where I think that there was a head clash that Jazzy told me about not long into it. In the first round, there was an exchange, nothing intentional or malicious, but she kind of got her bell rung there, and she said she never really kind of just felt like she was all there for the rest of the fight, felt a step slow. I thought the footwork from Kendra was great. She was very good at moving around. It kind of constantly had Jazzy like chasing and just not able to kind of settle in and get comfortable here. But congratulations to Miss Letitia Cantor. She was 3-1. Pleasure to work with. Love to have her back. Jazzy already talked to her today. She's going to be back in the gym. And she knows that was a fight that she was capable of winning, especially after watching it back. She was, very motivated to get back in the gym and get ready to give it another go. Jet.
Yeah. Strictly the opinions on this show are ours only. And I had it 29-28 Jazzy. I'm but in no way, shape, or form disagree with your 29-28 the other way, because what I saw was there's no way you could give Jazzy the second round. That was Kendra. I fully felt that the third round was Jazzy's. I'm appalled, honestly, at a 30-27 because I don't understand how you give Kendra the round three. The other two judges, neither one, even with their 29-28, didn't give round three to Kendra. So I thought round 2 and 3 were, in my opinion, easily scoreable, and round 1 being the one that was going to be the make or break
with the armbar attempt.
And I just felt the armbar attempts really locking in on that, holding it for a good while, trying to pull it off. Just leaned it more in my opinion. Again, if I would have read those scorecards off, 29-28 Kendra, 29-28 Sargent, and 29-28 Kendra, you're winning by split decision. Letitia Kendra, I would have walked out there totally fine with it. I did not like announcing 30-27, not one bit. And I think it's okay to say that because, fuck it. I mean, if Dana White could go on and say fucking, something sucked or a referee sucked or a judge sucked,
got it wrong or whatever.
Yeah, then why can't we? And I just think, and here's the thing, I don't know which one it was, necessarily. But I just think it was completely wrong. I would have loved if it was really any of my business to ask them, how did you come up with that? And I think there were some people in the place that were trying to find that person to ask them how the hell that they came up with it. But I don't think they stuck around long after the show. They got their check and ran. But listen, Jazzy, most of these girls got a future. Jazzy Sargent is not going to let one loss get her down. She's got too much of a huge fan support and great coaching staff, great training partners now at Agogi. And she's going to be back. And it really makes me happy to hear that she's already reached out and is not sitting and dwelling on, the outcome of a fight, and saw where she could, instead of just pointing fingers at what someone else got wrong and what someone else didn't do, is to sit back and say, hey, I see where I messed up. I see where I could have been better and done better. And I could have won that fight if I had done this. And that's what I'm going to fix. But all the talk about, Jazzy Sargent should not overshadow Letitia Kendra's, excellent performance. She was long, she was rangy. I think physically, maybe if I were a coach and I'm looking her up and I'm going to look at her body style and her body type, and I'm going to go, okay, this girl's a twig. My fighter's a short, strong, stocky wrestler. This girl's got no meat on her bones. We're going to be able to ragdoll her. But Letitia uses her body type very well, her length, her range, her long legs. She's very unassuming, when you just look at her physically. She was a very skilled lady, and a long trip from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to come compete, and it was a pleasure to work with. And we'll see both of these girls back.
Dylan, your take.
Yeah, that is a long trip from Pittsburgh to Chattanooga, and I guess I thought the same thing when this fight started. Just looking at Letitia Kendra, I thought that what I know about Jazzy, I really thought she'd be able to kind of ragdoll her and utilize just power wrestling. But Kendra actually was really effective at using her height. When it would get to a grappling kind of theater, she would use her height and her limbs to maintain her balance and then end up in top position. As far as the scorecards go, 30-27 does seem a bit extreme, but I do think in the end the judges got it right. I do think that Kendra won rounds 1 and 2, with the third round being much, much closer. I think that, especially with the fact that hearing there was a clash of heads, it almost felt that way watching the fight, because I'm sitting there in the second round and I'm thinking Jazzy's going to make some adjustments from the first round, and it just seemed like she never quite got it in gear. And if you're getting your bell rung off of a headbutt, it's going to be harder to kind of implement your game plan. You got to kind of get your bearings about you. And when you got somebody in the cage trying to put it on you, it might take you until the third round to kind of get your head clear. So I think if they fought 10 times, Jazzy would find a way to get her arm raised. But for Letitia to come into hostile territory, making the long drive, you basically had a whole arena of fans cheering for you to end up on bottom, for you to end up getting your ass kicked. It didn't happen that way. She was actually a really skilled martial artist, and she seemed really calm. It wasn't like the moment was too big for her. I think this is her 4th amateur fight. So now I think she improved to 3-1. Really good. Good technical striking. She's very long, and she defended the takedown, and that's kind of what gave her the chance to win 2 rounds, and I think she did win 2 rounds. So she got her hand raised. I know the crowd might be a little disappointed. 30-27 is kind of tough. Sometimes in this sport, without the open scoring, you wonder, like, what the hell's going on sometimes. And you see it at the pro level, and it's just kind of pervasive. But that just speaks to fights being so subjective. People value different things, and even though we agree on a rule set, that's kind of the beauty and the pain of this sport. We can all kind of have common ground when we see something in a fight, but at the end of the day, it's the 3 judges, and people make their own determinations. So congratulations to Letitia Kendra, and I love hearing that Jazzy Sargent is raring to go, because she's got a great following and she's got a great spirit, and I just think it's going to be awesome to see her get more experience in an Aries cage.
And quick props to her crowd too, because in a lot of situations that goes south when you have a crowd that size. But definitely kudos to the Jazzy Sargent crowd, because they took it with a grain of salt that it was a competition and their fighter just didn't come out on the right end of it, and there was not any bullshit like sometimes we could have got bad, and it didn't. Thank you.
As Richard Guerrero told me after the fight, this sport is a cruel, cruel mistress at times. So moving on to our main event of the evening, it was 5 rounds potentially for the Aries light heavyweight championship, held by Zane Burton, the Sandman himself, putting his 4-0 record on the line against Wallace McCoy, coming down from Quest Fitness in Murray, Kentucky. I think that a lot of people were very surprised by Wallace McCoy's ability to wrestle here, guys. Not a whole lot of footage on him out there from the beat on the street. Was that he was more of a striker, and obviously he's carried a lot of power. He was put together, strong, athletic, but man, he showed off some wrestling ability that I think surprised a lot of people. Maybe Zane Burton most of all, but it was very tough to score. I was telling everyone afterward that, man, I have no idea what those scorecards are going to say. I have no idea what way the judges were going on this one. For argument's sake, I was going to say it was 2-2 going to the 5th, but it very well could have been 3-1, potentially one of the ways. Jeff, I'll let you. I'll go to Dylan first on this one. Dylan, your take on this one as Rear Naked Choke gets the title to Wallace McCoy's camp with only 34 seconds to go in the 5th round.
All right. So, man, Saturday night, something about 5th round title finishes, huh? What the hell?
Yeah.
So I just like what you just said, I was sitting there with Houston on the call, and we watched it. Obviously, we're calling it. And And I was wondering what these scorecards were going to read, and subjectively, the power that was getting landed with the right hand from Wallace McCoy did seem like the most meaningful strikes. But I do think that Zane had flashes, and I mean, it's the kind of thing where to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. And I don't necessarily know that Wallace was beating the champ. He was hitting him with some big punches, but I think Zane had some good volume. The scrambles were kind of crazy because Wallace might have an advantage with pressuring him up against the cage, but Zane is so good at just initiating these scrambles where he regains position. So it's almost like if you initiate a takedown, but you don't get it or you don't do any damage with it, and then you get out volumed on the feet. It's like, how are the judges seeing this? I will say that in the 5th round, Wallace had a guillotine on Zane Burton that he went almost vertical on the cage to try and get out of it. It seemed like he got stuck, and he stalled there for maybe 10 seconds. And I actually thought that was going to be the fight-ending submission. But then Zane once again utilizes that kind of just freakish length that he has, and he initiated a pretty crazy scramble that eventually resulted with McCoy taking the back and locking in the rear naked choke, which won him the light heavyweight title. So, this was pretty stunning, especially coming off the heels of the co-main event where, the hometown favorite kind of came up on the short end of a decision. To see the hometown champion here fall victim to a fighter who is relatively an unknown commodity in Aries Fight Series, but I mean, he's definitely somebody we're aware of now. That was a hell of a performance. You got to give respect to Wallace McCoy. He is the champ, and I thought the fighter showed great respect between the two. Zane afterwards was saying that it was just basically a deficiency, a brief deficiency in the jiu-jitsu defense for him. So we know he's skilled. He's going to go back to the drawing board and try and make some sense of it. But Wallace McCoy is your Aries light heavyweight champion, and if you didn't know him before, you damn sure know him now. So props to him.
Jeff, final take.
Yeah, I haven't seen a fighter as happy after a loss as Zane was, which I think was kind of disturbing. Not necessarily to me, but to his coaches, I think, like, what are you so happy about? But he was just adamant, I needed that. I needed that humbling. I needed that, I'm not saying he overlooked them, but he was an unknown. And I think he had a comfortability with the unknown in the record, just being 2-1. And,
and if you look on Tapology, he's only 0-1.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to look at this on paper and be like, nah, this dude, but no, he's got wins. He's just not fighting for promotions that are reporting him. Yeah. And, I think there was just a comfortability with Zane that things have been relatively easy for him so far. And he kind of walked into a wall. And McCoy didn't have necessarily a lot of offensive wrestling. It was his defensive wrestling, I think, is what stymied things, was that Zane just could not get those tree trunks, off the ground. Once he, got a good base up, even when McCoy's back was against the cage, he would get that good base with those trunks, man, and get his legs spread and twisted. And there was just nothing that Zane could do with them. I don't know if I was scared to go to a judge's scorecard, though, after just hearing a 30-27 in the fight before. But I was definitely curious at that point to hear after the fight was over, and I didn't have to read a judge's scorecard. Then I really wanted to see the judge's scorecard, right?
To see where they were, and I never did. But someone else, I don't know whether it was true or not, said that they did. But at that point, it was all unanimous for McCoy at that point. And I can't remember who told me that. And they may have been full of shit. Because I don't know if any of those judges would have shown their scorecards to that point. But while he was a little more excited for my liking, I definitely understand what Zane was saying. Was he needed that. He needed to see that it's not always going to be easy. You're not always just going to have, I don't want to say people that have rolled over for you, but it's just not always going to be easy. And one day you're going to have Buster Douglas, in the ring with you that you're supposed to beat, and maybe 9 times out of 10 do beat, but on that night you just don't, and everything's clicking. I had gotten a chance. I knew Wallace McCoy. I'm the one that had suggested him to Tim, like, hey, Tim knew of him, but I was like, man, what about this McCoy guy? I just watched him fight in Clarksville, and he beat a guy with a really good record. But again, I was looking at his record, which at that time was like whatever 1-1 or something.
Yeah.
And he didn't win that fight the same way he won Zane's fight. So I thought, this could be a good matchup here, stylistically. I didn't expect it, but it is what happens. Like you said, this sport is a bitch sometimes. And, people got to understand, I read this shit online, and I see people that take their little jabs and shit. Fuck y'all, I don't care. But they're like, oh, they got they messed up in their hometown. People got beaten. Listen, we have no obligation we have a city and we put a show on. We don't have any obligation to, the gyms or any person or any people. We're putting on fights. And at the end of the day, anybody can win the damn fight. And that just shows you that's what happens. The only people that really get upset at a win and loss are the ticket buyers who are supporting their fighter. At the end of the day, whether who wins and who loses, all we look at it is, well, how does that affect the next matchup? Where does the winner go from here, and where does the loser go from here? And how can we put on, the best fight or the best show that we possibly can with who will and won't accept a fight. So yes, the crowd went away with 2 hometown losers at the end, but they weren't losers. They just lost the competition. They didn't lose anything because they both fought well, fought valiantly. And that's just the way the fucking cookie crumbles. I do know that hearing from at the end of the fight, Zane's corner, they really wish that he would have held out for that 30 seconds and that maybe he could have. And Zane, I think, even said when he was, collecting his ticket sale funds at the end of the night, almost like he maybe could have, but he kind of just had that shell shock, that panic moment right at the end, and felt that it was deeper than maybe what he realized maybe later it was or wasn't. But nonetheless, I'm sure rather than going out like that, they would have liked to have seen what the judges' scorecards were and take a shot there. But Zane's got a future. One loss isn't killing that dude. He's going to be back, and I hope Wallace McCoy's back too. Don't take our damn belt and run, Wallace. Because you're not that far from me. I'll come, bring a receipt for it. But no, we'd rather you compete again, man, and defend it. Wallace McCoy is a pleasure to work with. Super, super nice guy. Mm-hmm. But we do definitely understand education is important to him. He is currently a student there in Murray, Kentucky, I believe, in college, and he says I've got to finish this semester and do things the right way. So definitely understand. And honorable thing. But when the semester's over, hit us up. Hit us up.
Call me, Wallace.
Call me.
Yeah, I got to second that, Jeff. There is in this game, you're going to have detractors that are going to find some angle, no matter what, to try to disparage. If you're giving them, for sure wins at home, then you're feeding them bums. If you are putting them in competitive fights, which is what we did this time, and they happen to lose, then you got them beat. You got your draw beat at home. Well, fuck. If you're putting on competitive fights and you're fighting against people that are going to push you, as both the main event and co-main event did, neither one of them got embarrassed out there. Both of them were in competitive fights. You had a split decision. You had a fight that very well was about to be a split decision in about 24 more seconds. What do you think they take more out of, even in losses here? I guarantee that they take more out of these fights than they take from beating a jobber's wife that doesn't train per se. Would you agree, Jeff?
Yeah, like I said, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. If the hometown guy wins or a gym that's more predominant on that card wins, then you've fed them. And if they lose, then, oh, look at you. You just screwed over the T. You got them beat. You ruined their perfect record. They should have been fighting somewhere else where we would have taken care of you. So you're never going to fucking win. That's why we just get up, put our pants on, and just keep having fights every month. Don't worry
That's
about it.
right. That's right. That's right. We'll be back next month, September 17th. A bit of a gear down period, folks, as we get ready to roll into the fair fights. We're still going to try to have content for you guys. We'll be uploading the fights from Aries 11 starting next week.
And Augusta Fight Night. It's time
And
to start
Augusta
putting
Fight
out.
Night's coming out too. That's
Time to
right.
start
So
putting out
still going
Augusta.
to have lots of content. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. We'll start getting some interviews going here over the next couple of weeks. Stay tuned. Appreciate you guys sitting in on this recap. For Jeff Hobbs, for Dylan McCarthy, I'm Tim Lloyd, and we're signing out for another edition of the 0 Hour. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
Last thing,
Oh,
Tim.
one more
If
time.
anybody that's still here listening, check out Conflict's all-female card that's
That's
coming up.
right. Yeah,
Check
our
that-
buddies Jared and Andrew at
Yes.
Conflict all-female fight this weekend. Make sure you check that out. It's going to be really good. They've worked really hard, to put this one together. And we're always keeping our eye out on those female fights for sure.
Gotta be hard to put a full female card together. So kudos to Jared and Conflict. We'll see you
All
guys.
right, guys. See y'all.
All right, later.